What's going on, everyone? So today we are playing what many consider to be the best deck in set 4 post Django meta, and that is Quinlan Red. I'm very curious to see how the meta will shape up, but I do think that this has a really good shot at being one of the best decks in the format, if not the absolute best deck. It was already doing well. It's got a lot of things going for it, and I cannot wait to dive into the list, as well as play one of the best uncommons in the entire game in Force Throw. Before we do, I would say a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. We are starting some more tournaments, and I am passing out rewards, which is going to be a ton of fun. We have a TCG player link in the description down below if you guys want to check it out. Let's talk about Quinlan Red and what makes this deck so strong before we dive into some games. By no means is this a list that I am curating or creating myself. These are just some a conglomeration of a lot of other Quinlan Red lists. But what makes this deck so strong is you have a perfect mix of early game domination with enough disruption as well as finishing power so your opponent can never recover. In the early game, you use all sorts of your 2 and 1 resource plays, or even 3 resource plays plus Tarkin Town to remove units. You then follow up with things like Ahsoka, Kira, Force Throw, even things like Waylay, Commandeer, and Plo Koon in the mid game to ambush, kill off, or disrupt your opponent's hand/units. And then in the late game with, Han Solos and Enfys Nest and just your smattering of units plus some smuggle things like Cassian, you finish out the game. That's the key with this. In the 1 and 2 resource slot, we've got a lot of units that are very sticky. Crafty Smuggler and L3 both shielded. Sabine can go ahead and actually trade really nicely into both those units, which is really, really awesome. We have a couple of 1-drops for people who are playing 1-drops, which is really great. This is a card that I wasn't actually super impressed by initially, but then the more I played, depending on the matchup, Soldier and Cartel Turncoat, both amazing. A lot of other Quinlan Reds were playing this, so I had to give it a shot. A-Wings, another 2-drop. We got a lot of 2-drops because we really want to play something on turn 1, especially with Quinlan's ability. Anakin, this is another surprising one. A couple of Quinlan lists were playing this. Obviously, it's kind of a weak in terms of a turn 1 play, but because we have Force Throw in the deck, it turns into an insane play on turn 1 in some situations. If you're able to allow it to live, turn 1 Anakin into turn 2 Force Throw plus another 2-drop can be absolutely devastating for your opponent. In the 3 resource, we got more force units in Ezra. We've got Cassians for late game smuggle power and just a 3/5 if we need it. Millennium Falcon, just a classic good unit. 4 drops, new Ahsoka, discarding, messing with your opponent's hand. It's another force unit. Kira, messing with your opponent's hand, another disruptive element. 5 resources, Plo Koon, probably one of the best cards in the deck, comes down as a 6/6 ambusher since Quinlan comes down that same turn. It's also potentially a 7/6 ambusher because Quinlan's ability comes down and can hit anything 5 or less, which is really, really nice. We've got 7 resource plays in Han and Enfys if we get there into late game, and then we've got events such as disruptive elements, Force Throw, Commandeer, Waylay, Surprise Strike, and Hot Shot as extra power in combat. Really amazing deck. Let's dive into some games and hopefully dominate every game that we play today. Into our first matchup, and we've got ourselves a pretty solid one up against Anakin Blue. Do we have a good hand for that? So the Soldiers of the 501st, Anakin can sometimes have weak turn 1 options. But I don't think I actually want to keep the Soldiers because any unit can basically kill the Soldier. I think I'd rather get down a shielded unit realistically in this spot. Again, any unit can really kill off a shielded 1/3 with Anakin's deck because it all has to have his 1 power, which is really, really scary. So we're just going to go Crafty Smugs. We will exhaust the leader and give a shield over on Crafty Smuggler. I don't think I need to use Tarkin Town at the current moment. Commandeer, I mean, it's not fantastic against Anakin for the most part, so I think we'll just go ahead and resource that. Let's go ahead and get an attack in for 2, and I think we're just going to play out the Cassian here. Depending on what they play, I'm preserving Tarkin Town because they may play a 3-drop here that we can go ahead and kill off. They've got Perilous Position. Okay. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't just use Perilous Position immediately. Double Ahsoka Tano plus the A-Wing here. I think I'll keep the Ahsokas because I think just playing Ahsoka into Ahsoka is going to work out real nicely for me. Let's go ahead and get an attack here. We can't exhaust a unit if they discard a card, such as a unit. And instead, we can go Ahsoka, make an opponent discard a card, deal 1 to the Frontier ATRT. Very interesting style, huh? And then we can pass. Plo Koon, pretty great draw, actually. I think I'll resource this. Yeah, I think I'll resource Anakin. We have Force Throw plus Ahsoka. We can't just play the Plo Koon. We have a lot of options here. We have a lot of options. I think what I'll do is go ahead and play Kira. And the reason I'm doing it this way is I want to see what my opponent has. Okay, so Fel the Dragon doesn't hit anything. So now we just name Takedown. And now they can make 0 plays this turn. They can go ahead and trade with any unit. Ideally, what they'll do is they'll just kill off my Kira, right? Because then they'll be able to play Takedown. Oh, they killed off Ahsoka. Okay, to avoid Force Throw, I suppose. But then we have Quinlan. So that just doesn't make any sense. They should definitely have killed Kira because now they cannot play any unit this turn. Now we get to go Force Throw our opponent, kill off their A-Wing, and that just is an amazing sequence. I would have expected them to have gone and killed off the Kira so they could have made a play that turn. I was thinking like, okay, if they have a play, they're forced to go ahead and trade here, which is really nice. We didn't use our Tarkin Town, which maybe it would have been better just to Tarkin Town and then play Kira, but I was thinking, okay, they'll just be able to play their card anyways since it's back and forth. We do have Plo Koon, which can't quite kill Anakin, but would put him in a range where he'd be really close to death. I think here I could play Ahsoka and play Cartel Turncoat, or I could just play Plo Koon. Let's see. Currently, Anakin is 6 power. I think I'll just play Plo Koon here. And make my opponent do something about my units. I think that's what I want to do here. Because then I'll be able to also go with the Cartel Turncoat. Okay, they're going to kill off Quinlan. We're just going to attack into base. We can't go ahead and use this on anything yet. We'll pass. We'll resource this Cassian. We have the Hotshot Blaster to get in some extra damage. We'll see if they have like a Luke, for example. Okay, they're just going to go ahead and get in some damage. We are just going to attack in with the Cartel Turncoat first. They've got a Yoda, sure. I think now we'll play Ahsoka. So we'll see, make them discard. We get a Sabine, awesome. We can exhaust Anakin, doesn't really matter. We can trigger this, but it doesn't do anything. We will Hotshot Blaster Kira into the base for 5, Cassian into for 3. And yes, I know they've got 10 damage. They could go ahead and almost one-shot us, but it's not quite one-shot, right? Not quite one-shot, so we'll see what they've got. Anakin shouldn't have any way to pump up 1 damage unless they have a Jedi lightsaber that would finish them off because we would be able to attack afterwards. But we can kind of ignore the Yoda since we have multiple lethal threats. Yep, they're going to attack in for 10, and that's going to be GG. So GG, very close game because of Anakin, but we could have killed Anakin. I just, based on what Anakin Blue typically plays, I figure we wouldn't have seen anything too crazy. The ATRT, interesting card. I haven't seen too much of it, but maybe they're going to go for some entrenched strategies, which is kind of cool. A little bit of Sentinel, a little bit of entrenched action. I think that one turn with Kira was the important turn. I'm surprised my opponent didn't just go ahead and take down immediately, just to utilize those resources, knowing how much disruption we have, but we ended up getting there. Game 1. Moving into the next game. Oh, and we got a double red Kylo. This is going to be kind of interesting. This is where the 1-drops really come into play, because, and I'll make them start with the initiative. We got a 1-drop. Great. I think I'll keep this hand. I really do like this hand. Waylay could potentially be pretty good. I like the Millennium Falcon. I like the Ezra. Maybe Waylay's not the play. Maybe I just keep all the units. Maybe Waylay's just a little bit too slow. I was thinking Waylay for Fallen Lightsaber, but usually you're not putting Fallen Lightsaber on your early game units. And what I'm doing here is keeping a 1-drop and a 2-drop. Because if they play a 2-drop, we play the A-Wing, we kill it with Tarkin Town. If they play a 1-drop, we play the Soldier, we kill it with Tarkin Town. So pretty nice. We're going to be able to Tarkin Town away that part as an Insurgent. We're going to be able to play a 3-drop after they play a 3-drop and Probably kill that. If it's a space unit, we get to Millennium Falcon it. If it's a ground unit, then we just play Ezra, hit it, maybe draw a Force Throw, and that's going to be awesome. We'll see. My opponent is maybe AFK. All right, they're going to claim initiative. We're going to go ahead and finish off that. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Double Force Throw draw is actually pretty good because Kylo generally doesn't have a lot of ways to interact with units. So we get to go Ezra here, and then we get to pass because we can't finish off the Death Star Stormtrooper. And then depending on what they're going to play here for 2 resources, we may just claim initiative. Oh yeah, Force Choke. Okay. Usually Force Choke, not a super common card in Kylo, but ended up working out pretty nicely for them. We got the triple Millennium Falcon. We drew another Ezra. Another Ezra is actually pretty nice. We'll resource one of these Millennium Falcons. Yeah, Force Choke. I mean, it's not great for us, but it's not bad. We would have loved to have Ezra on the board, of course, which is why they Force Choke. Like the Force units are something that you really got to make sure you're potentially taking care of as the opposing deck up against Quinlan because of Force Throw. Force Throw is just a ridiculous card. So they're going to power up the Death Star Stormtrooper. Okay, so here's an interesting question. Do I want to go with Ezra or do I want to go with the Force Throw? Or do I want to attack? I'm going to go ahead and attack first. Because they may attack with Death Star Stormtrooper and then we can play out Ezra and Force Throw. And then potentially kill off Ezra. Or kill off their Kylo. Or kill off the Death Star Stormtrooper. Another Force Choke, huh? Make my opponent discard a card. Double Force Choke is kind of crazy as well. Yeah, that was probably worth it just to get rid of a power in their hand. They're going to be able to deploy attack for 5, which is obviously great. But yeah, double Force Choke to deal with both Force units is pretty nasty. Let's resource this Cassian. We're going to immediately deploy Ahsoka. Because we'll make them discard a card and we'll see what we get to exhaust. Hopefully it's a unit if they do discard. Might be an event, might be Fallen Lightsaber. The third Force Choke. Okay, well that's kind of crazy. Okay. Sure. Force Throw's losing a lot of value at this point. My goodness. The triple Force Choke draw is absolutely gross from our opponent, but you know, that's what happens sometimes. Let's deploy Quinlan. This is now getting to the point where we're taking a lot of damage and we're a little bit worried, right? We're going to go ahead and hit the Death Star Stormtrooper. They're going to go ahead and take initiative. We're going to go ahead and hit them for 3. We're going to pass. We've got Commandeers, which probably aren't that fantastic. I'll resource one of these Millennium Falcons. They're going to be able to get in a lot of damage this turn, most likely. Hopefully they didn't draw like a Fallen Lightsaber. I think that would be the one scary card. The triple Force Choke is cracking me up, guys. Definitely had the hand. Normally I'm like, okay, Kylo doesn't really have a lot of things to deal with what we got going on. Okay, so they're playing Daring Raid, maybe to Tarkin Town. I'm just gonna go ahead and kill their Kylo with the Ahsoka. I could have Force Throw their last card in hand, but then they can Tarkin Town the Ahsoka, so this prevents them from using the Tarkin Town. And now, what are their options? They either attack or they use their card. Regardless, I think we're in pretty good shape because I could always Force Throw myself. And that's something I could have done last turn, to be honest. Something I probably should have done last turn, to be honest. Let's see what they have. Force Throw on Commandeer is 5 damage to anything, so whatever they play, I think the game is over at this point. This is also the problem with the Force Choke, but I think it was obviously a good play for my opponent to make. It's just that we have so much value across the board that it's really tough to go ahead and do a lot of this stuff. I think the game is over, so we'll see if my opponent's going to do anything. They're thinking real hard about this, I suppose. Okay, they conceded. All right. Definitely on the previous turn, I'm looking back, and yeah, Force Throwing myself probably should have been the play, just to get rid of potentially units. But honestly, at that stage, if they didn't, the key turn was when they deployed. They killed my other force unit with a force choke. We didn't have like a way to exhaust Kylo, and if they had like a fallen lightsaber or something like that, that's when it would have gotten a lot scarier, because they would have gotten a 3 extra damage in. Kylo would not have been easily killed, and that's something that would have put us in a bad spot. But that didn't happen, so we were pretty set. But yeah, game 2. All right, to the next matchup against Boba Yellow, obviously post banning of Triple Dark Raid. So this is a deck that I think we are pretty advantaged up against. And ooh, this is an interesting hand because we have the Millennium Falcon, or the Anakin plus the Force Throw. And I think what we're going to do here is resource both Cassian and Millennium Falcon. And the reason being is I want to go Anakin into L3 plus Force Throw, right? And we're going to just go ahead and play an Anakin. I know we could claim initiative, and that could potentially be decent. But I think we're actually more incentivized to go ahead and, okay. A little bit surprised as to what decision they made here. I was going to say, I think we're a little bit more incentivized to make this play, which is play Anakin so that we can go ahead and force throw our opponent and then finish off their Boba Fett with Tarkin Town. Unless they have a 1-drop, which I don't think they will. Boba Fett's armor, huh? Okay, pretty fun. We'll go Tarkin Town away. Boba Fett will attack in for 2. We'll play an L3. Pass. Okay, so that was a great sequence of turns. We've got ourselves another Force Throw, which I do like. I'll resource this Cartel Turncoat. I know I could resource Commandeer, but usually Commandeer up against Boba Yellow is pretty good. So now what I'll do is just attack in for 2. And then we can Force Throw our opponent a second time. Usually, again, Boba Fett doesn't play 1-drops. So I'll just go ahead and rely on the fact that we can go ahead and get rid of another card. There's a Surprise Strike. We'll take 3 damage to the base. I think we can go ahead and afford that right now. And then we'll play a Sabine. So again, another pretty sweet play. I suppose 4 damage to the base. And we'll pass. Kira as the draw. We've got Commandeer. I think we'll resource this Crafty. I like Kira. I like Commandeer. If they play a big space unit, we'll just Commandeer it. So it'll bounce back to their hand. They've got a Waylay. So they're going to Waylay us. I'm going to go ahead and go Kira then and see what my opponent's got. So we've got Fett's Fire Spray and No Good to Me Dead. I think here I will name No Good because they're going to go ahead and play Fett's Fire Spray next turn to try to put Boba on it, and we're just going to be able to Commandeer it, right? So this kind of sets up a really nice turn next turn. So now we got an extra Commandeer. We'll just resource the Sabine. They're going to play Fett's Fire Spray. We're going to Commandeer it, and the game is going to feel pretty over. As we said, literally exactly what happened. I mean, the game is just pretty one-sided. I'm not going to lie, guys. Yeah, they say GG, and I mean, it is GG, right? If they deploy Boba on the ground, they can kill off like Kira or Anakin, right? But we're just going to attack him with Anakin. So then we get in for what? 5, 10 plus another 3, plus we put Cartel Turncoat onto the space arena, but Fett's Fire Spray is going to bounce back to their hand. Like, the game is so one-sided. Now, they didn't have a turn 1 play, which normally that would have changed the landscape a little bit, but still, I still think we would have been pretty heavily advantaged. The double Force Throw was absolutely disgusting, and that's why we go Anakin in the deck, right? Like, that is a perfect example. Anakin coming down, we're able to Force Throw into, you know... I did not expect that. Our opponent here, they're calling us out with the veiled shot. I mean, our opponent didn't really have any options in this game. It was just kind of a super one-sided, again, double Force Throw. Double Force Throw was just absolutely dominant. So shout out to Anonymous 4ED302 for catching us on it. I actually didn't even notice. I don't know if we all have the same anonymous name every single time. I don't actually know. But obviously, if that's the case, then some of you will start to remember my anonymous name. Pretty one-sided, not really that difficult of a game. I didn't really feel like it had a lot of brain power to had because I just had a great hand. And our opponent doesn't have like the Triple Dark Raid shenanigans that could have been done in the past, right? So nerf Boba up against pristine Quinlan. And it was already a good matchup. on to the next game. Okay, into the next game, and we've got ourselves a different Boba Yellow player. I did notice that that is the same anonymous name, so yes, a lot of you will start to figure out that I am me. We're gonna mulligan this one, hopefully for a better hand, and hey, look at that. We have a pretty good one. I'm gonna resource the Cassian, and I think I'm gonna resource the maybe it's the Commandeer. I like Commandeer a lot, but I don't want to disrupt my curve to play Commandeer. We're going to go with Anakin here to go ahead and finish off the Sigerian Starhopper. I really want to get rid of that. Just on turn 1, get rid of any unit over there. We'll go ahead and take 3 damage to the base. It's fine. With the Force Throw plus A-Wing on the following turn, it's going to be pretty nasty. And I'm worried that maybe they have a Daring Raid in hand, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of that. Ezra, I think, will probably be the resource here because I want to go Force Throw plus A-Wing. So we'll go A-Wing, and then we'll Force Throw our opponent. Hopefully they don't have a 1-drop. Again, Daring Raid. They do have a 1-drop. We'll go ahead and hit 1 onto that droid missile platform. We will attack for 2. So ended up having a 1-drop. Ends up, kind of disrupting the whole game plan. But that's okay. They're going to get in for 4 here. Oh, they're going to trade off, huh? Okay, we'll take 2 over here now because we don't care as much about what's going on. We'll play Kira just to look at my opponent's hand first off. And they've got IG, Torpedo Barrage. So we'll name IG since IG can come down and hit a couple units. And they'll have Torpedo Barrage or TIE Bomber. So now we're going to go ahead and claim initiative. We got another Ahsoka. That's a lot of Ahsokas, huh? Let's go ahead and deploy Quinlan here. Okay, we'll take a couple points of damage on Quinlan. We will attack in for 3. They've got Torpedo Barrage. That's a lot of damage, huh? Let's go ahead and just take 5 to the base, I suppose. Jeez. Attack in for 2. We'll play Plo Koon. Deal 1 to the TIE Bomber. We'll pass. L3. Do I want to play an L3? I mean, I suppose I could. Let's resource the Soldier. They can deploy Boba Fett onto the TIE Bomber now. And then, they have a Darth Vader, huh? Wow, Darth Vader's going to be pretty good. Let's go Ahsoka. And let's go ahead and see what kind of card they have. Maybe if they have a unit in hand, we get to exhaust this TIE Bomber. They do. Awesome. Fantastic. So now, they have another TIE Bomber, huh? Now what can happen is we are able to just get in some damage here, right? We can rush them down. Oh, they're going to deploy Boba on the TIE Bomber. That makes sense. Makes a good amount of sense here. I'm going to take out Quinlan and my Anakin. Sure. Let's go ahead and get in for 6. Let's play an L3. And we'll pass. Hot Shot Blaster. Ooh, that's a pretty good one. Surprise Strike. Wow, that's a lot of damage, huh? That is a lot of damage, but it's not quite enough. Let's go the Hot Shot Blaster. In for 8. I was worried about Boba Fett deploy, but these TIE Bombers, since we have so many units on the board, we can just soak up all the damage, right? Which is really nice. Lots of toughness, and we're going to be able to finish out the game. Pretty interesting game, to be honest. The 1-drop, the fact that they had a First Order Stormtrooper ended up kind of messing up with our Force Throw. It was kind of tough because I didn't really want to go ahead and discard my own cards because we had a very specific hand in play. Like we were going to go Kira, we were going to play our A-Wing and all that type of stuff. But them having a 1-drop ended up really making that game a lot more tricky because we would have had an A-Wing, which would have been really nice because the A-Wing could have come down and attacked the TIE Bombers mixed with Quinlan, and then that would have been able to finish off the TIE Bombers, or we could have just got in for more damage and would have made the game a lot easier. Still able to get there. No Triple Dark Raid, making Boba Yellow here a lot weaker. All right, into the next matchup against Piet Blue. Usually a pretty decent matchup for us. And this is a matchup where, in some cases, the one drops can be pretty nice. We kind of want more disruption. I'm going to keep this because I don't want to like, end up resourcing into or mulliganing into a pretty bad hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep it. Piet Blue, things like Force Throw, things like Ahsoka can really do some nasty work. Absolutely nasty work. Pershing can be pretty good up against us because we have so much hand disruption that it can be really tough for my opponent to recover unless they draw a bunch of cards with Colossus. So that's where our advantage comes in. Kira's, Ahsoka's, Force Throws, that type of stuff. That's what we're really looking for. Let's go Cartel Turncoat here. So we got double one drop. Pretty aggressive start. Cassian, probably going to be the resource here. Can definitely come out later on in the game and push in some damage. Enfys Nest, usually not that great in this matchup, so probably going to be a resource as well. Let's get in for 2 here with the Cartel Turncoat. Let's get in for another 2 with the Soldier, and then we will play an Ezra, and then we'll play a Kira, and we'll see what my opponent's going to be doing. Super Laser Technician, huh? Let's get in for 2. We'll play the Ezra. I'm not going to use the ability. I may as well make them use an action to go ahead and do what they want to do. Let's go with Enfys Nest as the resource. And this might give us the opportunity to disrupt their capital ship game plan with Kira. But we will see. Okay, they're going to attack Ezra. Oh, they probably have a Ruthless Raider, huh? Let's see. They have a Fleet Interdictor, huh? Ooh. Okay, so let's go Fleet Interdictor. And we can pass. We don't need to exhaust the leader at all. I was thinking that they're going to have a Ruthless Raider as like off aspect. They're going to go like Piet, Flip, off aspect, Ruthless Raider. I know it seems a little bit odd, but that's what I was kind of considering. Let's go ahead and I know what they have in hand. They have Power the Dark Side, Resupply, Fleet Interdictor. If they play Power the Dark Side, I would like to go ahead and kill off my Soldier so that they don't draw an extra card. And then I can use Tarkin Town as a finisher for the Inferno Force. Let's go ahead and get in with the 2 damage with Cartel Turncoat. Let's go ahead and attack in for 3. Let's go ahead and discard the Sabine. And let's go ahead and claim initiative here. Ooh, another Cassian, huh? I think I'll resource Cassian here. Okay, so they can play the Fleet Interdictor should they have an extra resource, but they don't. I think I'll just start with Tarkin Towning away the Inferno 4. They could draw a lot of different cards here. I didn't want to Tarkin Town at the end of last turn because it kind of does the same thing. They would be able to take initiative, and now they don't get to filter the top of their deck. They end up having the resupply carrier, which ends up being pretty good for them. Let's go ahead and we're going to get done Cassian this turn. This is going to be the most resource efficient thing to do. And the question is, do I want to kill Piet? So if I kill Piet, they would be on 9 resources plus another one because of the Piet action. If I don't, they'd be on 11. I don't think that makes much of a difference. I think we should just stick with getting in as much damage as possible. Attack for 1 here, or 2 rather. They have a Power of the Dark Side in hand. I'm surprised they haven't deployed it yet. Let's go ahead and flip Quinlan. Let's go ahead and drop Cassian. We can ready up the unit, get in for 3, get in for 3. We will see if they are actually playing something like... we're going to resource the Han. Han doesn't really do a whole lot in this game. I'd rather have a bunch of small units. Something like a Super Laser Blast. That could end up pushing us out for a little bit. But here's the thing. If we don't deploy a bunch of units here and get in a ton of damage, it's going to be really rough to actually close out this game because they still have 11 HP to go, right? That's a lot of HP. So they have the Fleet Interdictor. They can go ahead and not do a whole lot realistically because, I mean, we have a ton of damage ready to go. And this should be GG actually, since that's really all they've got. We're going to be able to get in for 6 here, get in for 3, get in for 3, get in for 2, and that's going to be GG, right? So Fleet Interdictor, nothing too crazy. It's a Sentinel in space, but doesn't really do a whole lot. That's going to be GG. So not really a ton of hand disruption. The Kira was really nice for the fleet interdictor, but honestly, like, I'm surprised my opponent didn't go Power of the Dark Side. Like, yes, it only kills like Soldier of the 501st, but it's a useful use of resources, I'd say, for the most part, like in a lot of different situations here. No force throws or anything, no Ahsokas to really mess with their hand, but still got there with the Quinlan Red. All right, we've got a Quinlan Mirror with them having initiative, which is pretty interesting. They're gonna give us initiative. In that case, what do I want to do here? I think I want to mulligan this hand, and I think I just want to pass on turn 1. And what I'll do is hope, and we'll resource this Enfys Nest and probably the Commandeer here. We'll pass. We'll make our opponent make that initial decision. We don't have a great turn 1 here. They have a Grogu, huh? Ooh, Grogu is a little bit scary. Let's go ahead and play Cartel Turncoat then. Grogu's a force unit, which is a little bit scary. And ooh, we draw Kira and Ahsoka. I think I want one of each, depending on the situation. But they could have a force throw here. And if that's the case, I mean, when they kill off our Cartel Turncoat, and we can't really do a whole lot about it. We didn't really mulligan into the best hand, to be honest. Okay, let's go. Okay, if I play, I think we pass here. Jam Communications. Ooh, we've got nothing for them to take. Absolutely nothing for them to take. This is fantastic for us. That was a pretty bad situation for my opponent to be in. X34 Land Speeder is a great option as well. This is a card that I definitely considered to put in the deck. We're going to go ahead and claim initiative, but they're going to use 2 cards to get rid of my Ezra because they had a pretty bad hand. So that ended up working out real nicely for us. Let's go ahead and play Kira here. So we can look at our opponent's hand, see what they have. Okay, so Ahsoka is going to be the target. Can neither or 2 of them pay for that? Nope. So we just go ahead and name Ahsoka. Ahsoka Tano. Go ahead and make it so they can't play that. It's going to be really nice for us. They can go ahead and exhaust a unit if they want to, but now we just get a unit down, and that's going to work out real nicely for us. Okay, we get to go ahead and claim initiative. They can't play anything. Now there are 2 of them. Doesn't quite work, right? Because it's 5 less. So they can play now there are 2 of them, but like Ahsoka still costs 7. So that doesn't work. They're playing a now there are 2 of them version, which is interesting. Definitely can do some fun stuff, but I don't know if I like it nearly as much as other options. Ooh, Force Throw can be pretty good here, actually. I think what I want to do is actually hit the Grogu here, because Plo Koon can actually finish off. Plo Koon can actually finish off their Quinlan. And then if, let's say, they finish off my Quinlan, I can go Ahsoka Force Throw, or I can play Plo Koon. So yeah, now we can go Plo Koon here. Deal 1 to Quinlan, trigger, kill Quinlan. Because their Plo Koon can't finish off my Quinlan because they don't have 2 other units on the board. And so now what we can do is just finish off the Grogu. And I know I could have Tarkin Towned it, but just this ends up being really valuable because I can now Tarkin Town away the Millennium Falcon. So they have no units on the board. We have Plo Koon, Kira, and Quinlan. Remember, it's naming Ahsoka. So they can't deploy Ahsokas, really. We have an Anakin and Soldier as the options. I'm actually going to resource the Soldier because Anakin can be piloted onto the Millennium Falcon, which could be interesting. Or we could just go Force Throw plus Ahsoka. I mean, we could have gone Force Throw, Ahsoka, Soldier. But I just feel like the Anakin could be a little bit more valuable potentially in this spot if we were looking to just try to push in damage. So now we have Quinlan. We have a bunch of stuff. Han Solo could be a little bit scary. They've got Anakin, huh? Do I want to finish off Anakin? Because maybe they have Force Throw, right? This is the only thing I would be thinking about with Anakin. I think I will just go ahead and finish off Anakin. I don't want to be Force Throwed. That's one way that could be really scary for the game. Not that it's like incredibly scary, but you know, you never want to get Force Thrown if you can avoid it. Let's go ahead and get in for 6, get in for 3. We'll play Ahsoka. We'll make our opponent discard a card. Like I could have discarded my Anakin and then they could have dealt 2 to something, which isn't like a crazy deal, but Why not? I mean, we have massive control over this board, so there isn't really a reason to not do that. We get to resource Ahsoka here. We have a Cassian plus, ooh, Mace Windu, huh? Who do they finish off? Probably Plo Koon. Mace Windu is a great card here, actually. Okay, they're going to finish off the Plo Koon. That makes sense. Let's go ahead and just force throw our opponent. We don't have a card to kill off Mace Windu, but if they have a 4 or more drop, we get to kill off Mace Windu. They have a force throw of their own. So now they can kill off Anakin, I suppose. Mace Windu is a great option in this situation, which is pretty funny. But any other situation, and Mace Windu usually doesn't do a whole lot of work, it's still not going to bring them back, even though Mace Windu is a great option. We're just going to be able to play Millennium Falcon, get in for 3, play a Crafty Smugs. And I mean, we just like completely rushed down the board. Pretty interesting game. I think one of the big things with this one is we just have double Mace Windu. They're playing the Now There Are Two of Them style of deck. They're going to play the Now There Are Two of Them style of deck, which is good, but a lot less consistent. So, I mean, that's something. They can force throw us if they have it. Double Mace Windu. Pretty funny. Obviously, again, it's the Now There Are Two of Them. They're trying to get a little bit of value with that one, but really not a close game at all for the most part. The fact that we were able to play the Ahsoka to disrupt their game plan, or the Kira to disrupt their Ahsoka, really pushed us into the lead by far. Okay, into the next game, and we've got ourselves a pretty interesting hand. I do like this hand. I think what I'll do is resource the Green Squadron A-Wing and the Millennium Falcon. This gives us the L3 potential, which I do like as a shield token, and then the double 1-drop potential, depending on what we're playing up against. I don't really know what to be expecting up against Boba Blue. They're going to pass. Okay, so we're just going to go with a Soldier, and then we're going to play a Cartel Turncoat here. I'm going to go with the most potential, which is just as many units as possible. Okay. They're going to go ahead and Force Choke. This ended up working out fantastically, actually. Because we get to draw extra card. Commandeer, I'll resource one of the Ezras here. I think that makes sense. They might be playing a control deck, which is kind of fun. So force throws, Kira's, Ahsoka's, that type of stuff is what we're probably looking for. They're going to claim initiative. Okay, we're going to Cartel Turncoat, play Ezra, pass, and then go to the next turn. Force throw, great card. L3, probably the resource of choice here. We can go Millennium Falcon plus force throw. Allows us to get in a little bit of extra damage. They've got direct hit. All right, we're going to attack with Ezra. We'll discard an Ezra. Play the Millennium Falcon, pass, attack in. We won't force throw here. Not really a big reason to. And then here, do I want to pay 1 for the Millennium Falcon? I think I do. Plo Koon, although it's great, I think I'd rather go with like Hot Shot Blaster plus Force Throw. It's just going to push in more damage immediately and put on some pressure into our opponent. We'll pay 1 resource. Merciless Contest. Okay, I'll defeat the Millennium Falcon, and then we get to go ahead and attack in with Ezra. Ooh, and I will play Akira. We will look at our opponent's hand. They got Vigilance, Power of the Dark Side, Daring Raid, Devastator. I think what we'll name is Vigilance. Well, no, Vigilance doesn't actually work here. I mean, they could Daring Raid and then Vigilance. So yeah, we'll just name Vigilance here. So they're playing a hard control deck. It's kind of what I expected. Devastator is interesting. Commandeer doesn't work against Devastator, just as a note. Okay, we'll take 1 to the base. I don't think that's going to be all that relevant. We'll deploy Quinlan. Attack in for 3. Pass. We got Surprise Strike, Soldier. Commandeer doesn't look great at all. I don't even think there's an option to do anything with it. Power of the Dark Side, huh? We'll get rid of the Ezra. Get in with Kira. They've got an open fire, huh? Okay. Let's go ahead and... Let's attack him with Quinlan. And then they have Vigilance. potentially, unless they resourced it. Merciless Contest, or they have a Devastator, Super Laser Blast, potentially Vigilance. So Force Throw will either trade with this guy if they discard the Vigilance, or just straight up kill Boba Fett. So let's go ahead and discard our opponent. And we'll see what he has. Because I can also just deploy out... Yep, they have Vigilance. So yeah, they can go ahead and attack and kill Quinlan, which is fine. And we can deploy a bunch of units here, potentially. We can go L3 plus Soldier or Hotshot Blaster. We can go Plo Koon. I think I'd rather just get down a bunch of units here. And I think what I'll do is go L3. And we'll go Soldier. And that gives us more options. Plo Koon, probably the resource here. I'd rather get down a bunch of small units. And now we have multiple units to multiple ways to push in extra damage. They can't get to Super Laser Blast. They probably have Devastator still in hand. They got Planetary Bombardment. Okay, Planetary Bombardment does nothing. We'll just take all of it. There's no reason to distribute damage across our units in case they have like a Snoke or something. I'm not worried at all about the damage on our base. It's not about that in this game. And if that's their play, I mean, this game's over, right? Because we have Hotshot Blaster and we have Surprise Strike. So, GG. GG for my opponents. And that wraps it up, guys. We are Quinlaning everyone. The deck is incredibly strong. Let's talk about Quinlan, guys. All right, so what do we learn with Quinlan? Well, guys, who knew? The deck's good. It's good. It's a good deck. One card that we did end up seeing, and it's something that I considered dropping in the list, is the X-31 Land Speeder. The one that is a 2/3 ambusher can be really, really strong because you can go ahead and play it. You get the 1 damage on like a Crafty Smuggler, and then you get to finish off the Crafty Smuggler. Or you to get finish off like a Sabine or something like that. It can be really good up against certain matchups for sure. But overall, I mean, the deck doesn't really have anything that you really want to add to it outside of that. There's like a lot of sideboard options, right? That's kind of how it feels. Some decks, you're going to want the Anakin into Force Throw potential. Some decks, you're not going to want that. You're going to want the X-34. Things like Jam Communication, Spark Rebellion are great options. Things like the X-34 or potentially more Commandeers are going to be great. Maybe Waylays are going to be great in certain situations. This is a deck that has a lot of sideboard amazing options. Jam Communications, a 1 resource way to discard events, would have been fantastic in some of those matchups. Same with Spark of Rebellion. But overall, this is so disruptive. It is so amazing. I mean, you saw so many games there where early on, we used our Tarkin Town into Kira's and Ahsoka to make our opponent just skip their turn entirely, into Plo Koon to finish off something, or Commandeer to mess up their play. I mean, against that Boba Yellow player, I mean, we had, it was like 0 damage on our base or something like that from like actual unit attacks. And we were able to just play a unit, kill their unit, play a unit, Commandeer their unit, bounce it back to their hand, prevent the Boba Fett deploy. I mean, it is just insanely good. The deck is incredible. It has game against aggro, mid-range, and control. With how much disruption you have with Ahsoka's and Kira's, the controlling decks really struggle. And that's when you bring in against like Jam Communications and Spark Rebellion, which raises, you know, your potential even further. The decks that are really, really bad matchups for Quinlan in the past, Jango, and actually some of the more villainy ramp decks, like Kira was actually a deck that was pretty good against Quinlan. Outside of that, it was pretty rough for every other deck. Boss hard control list can be somewhat tricky in some situations just because we are a more aggro deck. But again, that's why you have Force Throws and Kira's and Ahsoka's to really mess with your opponents. And that's where the sideboard comes in. So overall, a really, really solid list. Definitely number 1 in my eyes right now. It just does so much working in so many different things. Definitely give it a shot if you haven't already. It is probably just the best deck in the format, realistically. And I'm curious to see if we're going to see anything kind of topple it. I don't know. There's a lot of decks that are good, but this one is the best as of right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.